job. It's everybody's job, right? It's a shift in the way we think and work. And we call that metric digital dexterity, which is really, think of it like the triathlete, the person that can see ahead and identify how these new technologies might change their part of the business. So for you guys, maybe it's the talent or HR function. How's technology going to shape that? We see it every day. The ability to execute and actually move on stuff that drives real impact, that's the driver part. And the last part is the innovative part. To be able to spin up those experiments, to recognize I can't rest on my laurels. I've got to start putting in the pipeline the next generation of innovations. And we have an assessment tool to measure this, and obviously everybody's on a different part of this journey. There's no right starting place. It's just recognize and be aware of where you are. So, you know, this is kind of a cynical view, but the reality is you guys have the ability to shape two things, right? One is you can take these 6 rules and say, I'm basically going to set the example for the organization. I'm going to apply the 6 rules to HR and human capital and the talent part of this business. I'm going to figure out what our 10x outcome is as an HR function, right? Whether it's 10x better customer experience, 10x more efficient in how we deliver services, 10x better response time, whatever it is. And I'm going to put in place little I and big I. I'm going to tap into innovators outside the walls of HR. I'm going to open up some of the data we need to open up to basically be able to unlock some of the value. And I'm going to look at the talent, the way we run our function and the talent across the business, right? And also have a purpose to drive that. The other thing is the enabler part. All those roles we talked about, figuring out what the business needs to go fuel its own disruption journey is a huge part. So everybody in this room has an opportunity to lead the way and not be the tail on the dog, but actually be the nose of the dog and be the one looking ahead, because ultimately this comes down to humans and people. The technology wheel will keep spinning. It'll be AI today, it'll be blockchain tomorrow, it'll be son of blockchain. And ultimately it will come down to, have you built the leaders, the culture, the organizational alignment to continue to adapt and learn. And that will be fundamentally what differentiates companies in the future. So we're doing a bunch of stuff in this area, but I don't want to get too much into that because I'd rather open it up for questions. I do want to say one more thing about the reskilling, because I was at WEF in Davos 2 weeks ago, and that was a big topic. What do we do with all these people that get displaced by automation? I am one of those optimists that believes it's not about automation, it's about augmentation. Because fundamentally there are things that humans do that I don't see machines ever doing. And we have an opportunity to elevate everybody if we do this right. I was talking to a financial service firm, they do wealth management. They're like, well, robo-advisors are going to displace a bunch of wealth managers. I said, no, they're not. Wealth managers can actually spend more time with their clients instead of crunching data and aggregating accounts and doing portfolio analysis of reports. They can actually sit there and understand somebody's life issue and get into it and figure out, yeah, I've got a sick mom, or I've got a kid that's got to go to college and I'm worried about having enough money. Those are the emotional, cognitive, empathetic skills that only humans can do. And so how do we deploy our folks in a more effective way and let machines do the heavy lifting? I think that's a better future if we do it right. So I think but that comes with a learning contract. That means your employees, it's a two-way street. You say, here's your path. We want you to kind of evolve to one of these newer roles we need. You have to be willing to do it. We'll give you the tools, the training, the time. We'll make the investment. Not everybody's going to make the transition, but the ones that you do, are committed to invest in themselves as well as you investing in them. So I think this notion of learning contracts around new skills will be a really important paradigm for people. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop and open it up for questions and discussion. Thanks.
So I'm Tamala from Waste Management. I was with GE for 20 years, so yeah, I know that story about GE Digital. But the one thing I'm struggling with right now is org design and the types of jobs and how we do work, and looking at career paths are no longer going to be linear. There could be circular or spiderwebbish, or I don't know. And so you know, in the industry that I'm in, it's typically been tenure, depth, and experience, and you move up the ladder. And I'm trying to get people to think differently in terms of what the future of work is going to look like and how it's going to change the jobs. And so I'm just struggling with that, you know. One of the things we're working on is also going through an ERP implementation. We're trying to put our best people on this implementation, which may take 3 years, but they want to know, okay, so what am I going to come back to do after I do this project? I'm like, 3 years is like a lifetime now. I don't know what the jobs are going to be, but they're reluctant to go because they don't know what they're going to come back to. So this whole notion of career pathing or design is a pretty big challenge for the HR function, I think.
If I may maybe give an example of this challenge that I think everybody has. In our case, we don't see this in the future as a career anymore. We want to offer a learning experience.
Right.
That's all we want to offer to actually employees. And of course they'll have missions, but the commitment we have is we continue to make you learn, make you acquire new skills. And actually when you do that, the reaction is very positive. So that's
and that's a huge frame change for employers, right? And the data shows it, right? For digital natives, millennials, 42% say if they're not learning fast enough, they'll leave the job. So that's the single most important thing. And if you can change the orientation that we're just going to develop people, and we'll create the internal marketplace of labor. And you know, I think that's one big thing is, can you look at your own, you know, company as an internal labor marketplace where people can, you know, job hopping used to be a dirty word, but actually job hopping can be a really good thing when the skills you need are changing every 12 to 18 months, not every 3 years, like in the old days when I signed up for GE as an engineer, right? So that's one thing. I think the second thing is the unit of analysis has become teams, right? It's product teams, it's sprint teams, and this notion of agile way of working, which I don't think is going away. I think it's going to permeate every part of the business, whether it's manufacturing, supply chain. It's not just about the innovation lab, right? And that's part of your job, by the way. If you do have an innovation second speed, it's not just about creating new products. It's about exporting or importing the ways of working back into the mothership, right? And making those stick. So teams, lean ways of working, and allowing people to have that internal labor marketplace available to them so they can learn and create their own learning journey, I think is a big thing. And then frankly, just helping using skill grafting, the kind of things we talked about with Penn Medicine, bringing skills together, because not everybody's a T-shape, right? Where they're digital strong in domain knowledge. Maybe you got to marry somebody that's got strong digital venture building skills with somebody who's got really deep knowledge about supply chain or regulation, and they learn from each other. So it's this pairing or, you know, kind of combining of skills. So I think those are things you can do and we have to do. We have to think differently about the labor model. What else? Yeah.
We started to talk about this before we got started, but in addition to reskilling, I'm interested in this trend that's almost perma-skilling and continually sending people to do these micro-masters or these continuing education programs, because I think there's an old comfortable model a lot of big companies settle into of hiring good students from good universities with great degrees, putting them through their own technical path, and then what? And I feel like even people who graduate with a great master's degree today, 5 years from now are going to need some updating, and that even a lot of our young and more senior managers need skilling in data management and data science and things like this, and maybe to different degrees. But I'd be curious to hear your experience and observation of companies who do this really well.
Yeah, and I beat my head against the wall talking to universities like Penn and Duke that, you know, they're still stuck in the old model of 2 to 3 year education programs. So we talked a little bit about companies like Udemy and Udacity, who were kind of born more on the tech side of this gap in tech skills, but they're recognizing this notion of microeducation that's done in concert with employers to say, these are the skills we need that we have gaps in. It doesn't just have to be digital skills. It could actually be, you want to take digital people and educate them in domain knowledge around, you know, geologic skills or oil field development skills. But, you know, it's this notion of very small bite-sized education with goals and objectives that they can then put to work in an action learning way right away. And in many cases, they'll do this stuff on site, or they'll do it in cool spaces, collaborative spaces. But I think those kind of companies are going to thrive, because right now the universities aren't stepping into the gap. And I think, unfortunately, the second tier, like community college folks, even for, you know, very little innovation there in terms of filling some of these skill gaps. But yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity, and I think there are companies out there you can work with that have some really interesting models. Braven's one that's focused on women and minorities. It's also all about reskilling and technical skills is very interesting.
So I'm gonna throw one thing out. Anybody use Duolingo?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so it's developed by an MIT guy. It's got an AI engine. You can learn, I think, 30 different languages, and you get it in 5 to 20-minute intervals. And one of the things my HR training group right now is trying to do is to find a package like that to do this micro-learning on a broader basis with employees. So what if an employee was able, like Duolingo, instead of learn a language, you learn about types of vowels in 5 to 10 minutes, and then maybe take a deeper dive on one type of vowel in 5 to 10 minutes. And continuously doing that. Think about the same thing about digital learning or product learning or business learning. So you talk about micro learning, you can take it even micro learning to that level. And if anybody knows that product, please talk to me.
Salesforce has done some stuff like that, and I think I just talked to folks at